right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Favorite Movie and Why. I am your host, Jack Ray. And if you are new, this is the series where we sit down with fellow film YouTubers and talk to them about everything film. But we start off with that one question. What is your favorite movie and why? Today, we are joined by someone who I have been very, very excited to collab with for years now, ever since I met Josh from Everything Movies, who we will be talking to in a later episode. But he has 14.2 thousand subscribers on YouTube, a great following. The biggest Toy Story fan I know.
Absolutely.
That is Zachhpope. Zach, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today. And
of course.
And talk.
Yeah, dude, thanks. I mean, I'm glad that when you reached out, and I'm glad that I could possibly do this, because I'm like literally always doing something. Like I never, like the only time I have to do my own stuff is like right before I'm going to bed. And that's when I just sit there and play Fall Guys for like 30 minutes and then I get off and I'm like, all right, time to go back to my life and watch movies and all that stuff. So thank you so much for having me here. And yeah, you're right. I am the biggest Toy Story fan in the world, man. I am the biggest freaking Toy Story fan in the world.
I mean, if you guys have already not seen his video of his Toy Story toy collection, go see it. It's I say probably his most popular video on his channel. It's absolutely incredible.
So it's funny, when I posted that, it only had 100 views, and I was like, that was a waste of time. And then like a week later, after the movie came out, dude, it just blew up. And like to this day, like I still get like I got 3,000 subscribers just from that video in a month. It was like the best video I've ever made. And I was so excited. And then I'm like, man, I need to replicate that. But I literally haven't done another toy video in a while. Like I collect like Star Wars toys, Marvel, and I need to do a video on that. But that Toy Story video, in fact, is funny because there's actually more toys that I have from my childhood from Toy Story, like bins and buckets, like, those Lego buckets you'd have as a kid that were like gigantic. I have bins of those, of Toy Story toys, but I didn't do them because they were smaller. They're tiny. Like I have a bunch of like, these guys, like all Sid's toys. So, but yeah, I love Toy Story, man. It's literally my passion. It's my project, but it's funny. It's not my favorite film of all time though.
I was going to say, I didn't believe it was your favorite film of all time. And I guess let's just kind of get into that right now. I mean, like I said, this show is called Favorite Movie and Why. And I'm going to ask you the first question. What is your favorite movie and why?
Well, and it's funny. So like my top 3 never changes. Like my top 3 definitively will probably never change. Anything after that does. Inception's up there, Pulp Fiction's up there. That stuff usually switches around. But my top 3, number 3, Raiders of the Lost Ark. One of the most rewatchable films I've ever watched. I'll probably always watch for the rest of my life. My number 2 is every single Toy Story. I don't care what you say. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Any other day could switch out. Right now, it's the second one's my favorite. I love Toy Story 2 to death. It was my favorite film. First film I ever saw in theaters. But my number 1's Wolf of Wall Street, man. That film changed. It's an experience because Scorsese's my favorite director. But Wolf of Wall Street for me, like, showed me a couple different things. One, inspired me. Like, I was very inspired by that film for filmmaking purposes, for like just my life in general. Like, I'm not going to do coke off a hooker's ass right now, but I'm inspired by the way that he was, like, that drive, that mentality that he had. I was just very taken back by that. And I'm like obsessed with the book. I read the book by Jordan Belfort. DiCaprio, I think that's hands down his best performance. The guy should have won for that. I will defend that for the rest of my life. I think that's Scorsese's best film. It's just a film that for 3 hours, it doesn't feel like 3 hours. Like, you watch it and an hour and a half goes by like that. And then the next hour and a half goes by like that. And you're like, oh my God, it's over. And it's just absolutely one incredible film. But it's the first film that I remember seeing in the theaters. And on first watch, I didn't love it. I was kind of conflicted. I was like, that wasn't what I expected this film to be, but I was so fascinated with it that the next day I went again to go see it. I literally, because I wasn't 18 at the time, I think it was my dad. I was like, Dad, we got to go see this film again. So he took me and then left me because he'd already seen it once. He liked it a lot. He didn't want to see it again. He didn't want to sit in the theaters for 3 hours, whatever. So I sat there, watched it. And I'm like, I'm in love with this film. I love this film top to bottom. And there was a period in my life where I used to watch the film once a day. Then I got a full-time job and that went away. But I do still try to watch it at least once a week, put it on in the background, enjoy it. at least once a month in that factor. But I love the film. It's between that, Deadpool, Toy Story, and Force Awakens for like my most rewatched films of all time.
That's great, and yes, that is such a fantastic film. Top 10 all time for me as well. And you kind of already answered my second question, which was what was your first experience with this film? But I'm going to twist that a little bit now
Okay.
and ask you a follow up to that. So you said you watched it one time, didn't like it at all. Watched it a second time, fell in love. What happened in that period? What was it that really pushed you over the top and said, "Oh, you know what? This is like it for me"?
It's expectations. I went in with a totally different expectation than what I expected the film to be, and I walked out. And I wouldn't even say I didn't like it. I liked it, but I felt disappointed in it, and I didn't get the hype for it. But it was my most anticipated film of that year. But then again, I was so intrigued with it. I kept thinking about it. I'm like, I need to see this film again. And there's a couple films like that in particular. Inglourious Basterds a big one. For the first time I watched that, I did not like that film at all. I really didn't watch it for a couple of years after that. I was very disappointed in it, and now it's my second favorite Tarantino film. Sometimes it gives it time to marinate just a bit and gives it time to live. And I think Wolf of Wall Street, I needed that second rewatch to really understand how I feel. There are many films that I've watched on a second viewing, and I wish I could have done it before a review. Last Jedi is a big one. The first time I walked out of Last Jedi, if you watch my review, I gave it like an A-, but I was so conflicted, and you could totally tell. And I still contend it's a really great made Star Wars film. I probably even contend it's probably the best directed Star Wars film, but it's not up there for me anymore. It's not up there really high for me, and I think a lot of that's just because of the way that it took the story. But sometimes that happens, and I don't know what it is. Certain times it's a mood, sometimes it's expectations, and I'll even say this: when I walked out of Endgame, I didn't know how to feel. I had to watch it a second time before I could truly get my feelings wrapped around it. Same thing with Infinity War, Black Panther. A lot of these bigger films that I get really anticipated about, I don't know how to feel. Birds of Prey, this year, didn't know how to feel about it because it was one of my most anticipated, and I didn't know how to feel. To be honest, walking out of Tenet, I'll probably feel the same way, and I'll have to go see it again, and I might go see it the next day just so before I even do a review. Just to kind of wrap my head around. In fact, I know someone who's seen it 3 times already in Australia, and he hasn't even done a review about it. He goes, I don't know how to put this film into words. So it's interesting in that factor.
The trailers have made absolutely no sense for that film. So I too am very much looking forward to seeing it, which we may actually cross paths depending on when that happens. We may actually be at the same screening for that. But I want to ask you, so I have always considered you one of the busiest people on YouTube. And I know there is a music reviewer named Anthony Fantano who calls himself the busiest music nerd on YouTube. I genuinely believe that you, Zachhpope, are the busiest movie nerd on YouTube.
Well, thank you, man.
100%. So we are going to go off track on movies really quick.
Okay.
We'll actually kind of be talking about movies. But I want to ask you, just from YouTube in general, what made you want to start doing YouTube? How did you first start? Where did the idea come from?
So there's a bunch of different things that kind of led me to making a YouTube channel. So like all throughout high school, I was in the yearbook class, but I never did anything in it. I never did anything for the yearbook. I wouldn't even say I was lazy. I just didn't understand it. But after my first year, pretty much they needed people to be in the class so they could get funding. So the teacher kept asking me to stay so they could get funding, but told me I didn't have to do anything pretty much. And that was our deal. It was kind of an underlying deal. You can do whatever the hell you want in this class. Just stay in the class. Don't drop it. You'll pass. I'll ask you to maybe go take pictures here and there, but you're literally going to do nothing. I said, okay, that's easy. So I would sit in class, and I actually made a blog that it's probably not up anymore, to be honest. It was called Zachhpope Reviews, I think. And it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. It was like completely garbage. I didn't know how to use Photoshop. I didn't know how to make anything. And I think I didn't do even reviews, to be honest. I did movie news articles like, who should play the next Spider-Man? This is before Andrew Garfield was announced. And I said, Taron Egerton. Or actually, no, this is after Andrew Garfield, but before Tom Holland. I was like, Taron Egerton. Love that choice. Love that. And I did a couple articles on that. And, it never went anywhere. but I had fun doing it. And so I always wanted to do a YouTube channel because I love Jeremy Johns. I love the Schmoes. I love Chris Stuckman. I love FlickPick. I'm like, I can do that. They're talking movies. I can do that. And you know, my love for movies came from my grandma because she would take me to movies like every single week. And then I got a car, and then I got a job, so then I could go and see movies by myself if I needed to, or get a friend to go and see them with me. And it became a daily staple where I would see at least 2 to 3 movies a week. But it was something funny that, like, I never recognized how much time I was spending at the movie theaters, but I was spending a lot more time at the movie theaters than I truly thought I was. And I had friends who, like, there was one time where I went over to my friend's house, and there was a bunch of us, and I always reference movies. And they made a bet on that, and I was so pissed. They made like a $30 bet how long it would take me to talk about a movie. And I was pissed at it at first. And I used to get bullied over like being a nerd of that stuff. So I never really talked about this stuff. Like, in fact, the first 2 years of my movies, I never marketed on Facebook, Twitter, nothing. I was very silent about that. And those reviews are terrible. They are all on private for only me and me alone to watch. But the year that Central Intelligence and Finding Dory came out, or actually that was the same year that Batman v Superman also came out, I got an early screener to go see that, and I went and saw it, and I was very conflicted the first time I watched it, but I typed up a huge thing on Facebook talking about the film, and my friend literally goes to me and goes, "Why aren't you doing movie reviews anymore?" And I said, "I don't know." He goes, "You should do one." Didn't do one for Batman v Superman. And it took me a bit to get back into it. And I think Central Intelligence and Finding Dory were the 2 that I finally did it for. And then ever since then, it was 1 a week, 2 a week, and continuously just steamrolling downhill. And for it to be like every day, there's not a single day that I'm going to be honest, there's not a day where I've had a day off from doing YouTube. Ever since Finding Dory and Central Intelligence, I've never taken a week off. And it's gotten honestly crazier the last 2-3 years since I joined the Phoenix Film Critics Society. It's really steamrolled because of, like, now I get early access. And then during COVID, I had to learn a lot of stuff because all the reps I know out here, all of them shut down pretty much. To a certain extent, like some of them would still be able to talk and stuff, but I had to do networking. I had to deep dive and really go to the studios. And I, ask people, find out emails for, say, like Unhinged was coming out. I knew a theater wasn't going to show it out here, but I wanted to review it because so many damn people were asking about it. I went to the studio page, both the distributions, just send a quick email like that, contact us here, not even expecting, you don't expect an email back. They all replied back. And I was just like, that's how easy it is? Really? So I tried it for the tax collector, got the tax collector. And it's just constantly that networking stuff, which is like a big thing that I can say for everyone. Like, it doesn't hurt to message and ask. It doesn't hurt to message and ask. Like Lovecraft Country, I didn't even ask HBO. I was like, they're going to say no. They're going to say no. It's a big show. They're not going to say yes to me. And my friend told me, why don't you just try? So I tried, and then I got it. So, I love that. And I've loved YouTube, and it really just started from me always talking about movies and people just saying, why don't you, I wanted a place to go where I could talk about movies and no one make fun of me. And people still give me shit in the comment section, which is okay. But I wanted a place to go where I could talk about movies, and I wanted it to be a safe place for other people to come and talk about movies too and share their opinions. The website I have, Wolf of Geek Street, it literally says on the front homepage, it says a place for you to be a geek and feel at home and be safe. And I want that always, But if you're a shitbag, I'm still gonna talk shit down to you. Like, if you're gonna make fun of me, we're gonna go fight, definitely. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so different now than it used to be. Being a nerd is like seen as cool now,
which is crazy, man. Like, these people that used to, like, I wouldn't say bully me particularly in high school, but like they look down upon me. They're like, you're a geek, blah blah blah. And I was like friends with some of them, but like it was that fake friend type thing. I see them now and they're like, dude, did you see this movie, blah blah. I'm like, I never talked to you, dude. I never talked to you in high school, and like now you're talking to me. What the hell is this? So it's funny.
The tables have turned.
It is.
How the tables have turned.
Like Star Wars. If you were into Star Wars 5 years ago, it was different than you are into Star Wars now. It's crazy to me. Like, I used to hate people coming to my room because I was so embarrassed. But then people would come in my room, they're like, you got so much stuff. This is so cool. I'm like, You think it's cool? Okay. So,
Yeah. I mean, you live. I think you live in a wonderland of awesome
dude, I do.
movie stuff. I mean, it's so cool every time I see your room tours. But I'm gonna pivot a little bit more on the YouTube, and obviously we talked a little bit at the beginning. You've got a nice little following, but there's always room to grow and improve. Where are you personally looking to grow from where you are now?
It's crazy. So I mean, my main two goals is definitely Rotten Tomatoes and BFCA, which is the Broadcast Film Critics Association. Those are kind of like the peaks of film criticism. I do want to get eventually onto those lists where I can, go do press junkets, because I've done a couple press junkets and they're awesome. I love doing them. They're so fun. And I've got to accompany some friends on some, like Griffin from Film Speak invited me and Tyler Tompkins to go to the Toy Story 4 press junket with them. We got to go to Disney World for free. We got to, we just had to pay for our flights. It was awesome. Like, it was amazing. And I want more opportunities like that. And through YouTube in general, this is more of like my resume. I love talking movies and stuff like this. I want to do it for the rest of my life if I possibly can. And eventually I want to go full-time. I want to do this for the rest of my life, whether it's I find a job through a website or a channel, or I just continuously doing this and, someone recognizes me and wants to sponsor the channel. And right now I'm doing stuff for the list .tv, which I don't know particularly what channel it is in Arizona, but I know it's broadcasted across the country in certain channels. And I love doing that. I do it like every other week, and it's a blast doing it for them. And I just want to keep doing that stuff. And, long-term goals, when I started this, I didn't think I'd ever hit over 200. And, that was a long way to get to 200. And then I got to 500, and it was like, I became obsessed with getting subscribers. And it wasn't even obsessed with getting subscribers. It was obsessed with doing content and expanding my knowledge on films. I get jealous when people get to see movies before me, because I want to be able to put that into my brain first and then like be able to talk about it and expand into there. And I love the blockbusters. I love blockbusters, but it's truly the independent stuff that is the more bread and butter for me. And, going to film festivals is a big thing. So it's just like really just expanding this. I don't know where this channel is going to go, but I know that I will never want to stop doing it. I've never had a thought in the last 5 years that, hey, I want to stop doing this. And, there's a time like during COVID that like there wasn't a lot of movies coming out. So I did have to figure out different things. Top 10 list rankings, which I'll say now I'm kind of burnt out of those. I'll do them for some films. Like I was debating, do I do one for Bill and Ted this week? Do I do one? Do I not? I'm like, do I really want to? Not really. Will it get some views? Sure. But, do I have anything else to add to it? It's just more of like, and a lot of the reason, like I always have deadlines for myself where like, if I get an early screener for a movie, that review has to be up before the movie comes out. It just has to be. But if I see a movie, so like Tenet, my deadline for that review for me, if I walk out of the film and I know how I feel about it, it's gonna be that night. That night I gotta go home, film it, edit it. It's gotta be up by the next morning. And it's keeping those deadlines, keeping organized. That's kind of like kept me sane through all this. And then like there are times where I watch a movie like per se Host, that Shudder film. I don't know if you heard about it. It was like 57 minutes. Didn't know how I was gonna feel about it. Didn't even plan on doing a review for it. Watched it. And a week later, I said, I want to talk about this film. I need a video for today. I'm going to talk about it. And I filmed it and edited it and put it up. And, it didn't do the best, but I wanted to talk about it. So I do those passion things. And it's just, I want to just keep having fun. And that's the mentality I try to keep on here. Like DC Fandom just happened. And there are so many different videos I could have done for that. But I knew if I were going to do them, I wouldn't have fun making them. The reactions I have fun making. They're easy to make. They're fun to make. And I like going back and seeing my first reaction to something that, I can look back on when I'm doing a review and see like how truly excited was I for this. When the Batman finally comes out, man, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry in theaters. Like I fully expect for that film to be one of my favorites of all time, just because I love Batman as one of my favorite superheroes, and it has some of my favorite actors of all time, directors, all that stuff on board. And yeah.
I mean, I'll only echo what you said about the Batman. I mean, it looks amazing.
I printed this poster out because I had to.
That is awesome. Are you sure you don't want to be a journalist? Because you are really you're really living that deadline thing that we are held to so hard. So
To be
hard.
honest, I wouldn't mind doing it. I wouldn't mind doing it, man. Like I really wouldn't. I'm not going to school for that. I'm actually going to school for business, more in the likes of business communications, knowing how to manage people, because I do want to run my own stuff. I have ideas, like, because when I started YouTube, it was for short films. It was directing, it was writing. And to be honest, like, when I graduate this year, I'm not gonna like just have that free time open. That free time's getting filled with something, whether it's more YouTube videos, whether it's streaming, like I want to get into video game stuff, whether it's, I've been talking about doing a damn Disneyland channel for the last like 3 years. I don't even care how many views it gets. It could get 5 views and I do one video a week and I wouldn't care. I love Disneyland. But that, honestly, that time is going to go towards writing scripts. It's going to go, I have like 4 book ideas that I've told myself I want to write. One that I want to start about, just talking about my journey and what made me love film. That's like the number one. I have it literally outlined. I have it done. I just need to type. And I've told myself, hey, I should type 1 page a day and I'd be done by the end of the year. That did not happen because I get tired and lazy and I want to take a break. And but definitely when I'm out of school, like that's my goal. I get up really early every morning, do my stuff for school, but that fulfillment will be definitely changed to more of that type of style. And to be honest, that's what I want to do. I just want to keep talking movies. And the journalism part, you're right. Maybe I just don't feel comfortable enough writing particularly all that well for someone else yet, but I'm excited nonetheless. And maybe I'll take that into consideration and start branching off into there when I get more time.
Well, the future is definitely bright. One more question, kind of revolving around YouTube, and then I will hit you with some quick fire, more fun questions.
Sweet.
This one is one that I don't know why people don't ask more of, because I think it's very interesting to see the insight of people that have been in different fields for a while. So what I'm going to ask you is, what is one thing that you wish you knew when you started YouTube that you know now?
Oh God, man, that's tough. I got a couple tips. I don't know if I can just do one, but I got a couple if that's okay.
Go ahead.
All right.
The more the merrier.
First, answer every comment that goes on your video. I don't know what was up with me. I never replied back to people for the first 3 years. Never did. Unless they talk shit to me. Which is sometimes still the thing. Like, I'll try to reply back to the first few comments on every video, but then once it gets above like 15, 20, sometimes I don't. Just because then the next day I already have another video going. And it's like, I'm past that video, I'm moving on to the next one. For some reason, I did answer almost every comment on the Batman one. Don't ask me why. I had 30 minutes of free time, and those were all the latest comments, so I went through them. So that's a big thing. Answer every comment. And network. If, I don't love when people are like, oh, hey, like, good review of Extraction. I also did a review of Extraction, and you should come check out my channel. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I'll go look at the channel, but 9 out of 10 times I probably don't, because I'm just scrolling through and I want to have a conversation. Now, the conversation that stemmed from that is when I noticed, like, hey, this is what I felt about it. I'll click on your thing and see if you have videos. That's how I view it as. And I've noticed that that's how other YouTubers also add it to. Because I used to do that same thing. Hey, come look at my channel. This is what I thought of. And it never goes anywhere. Those sub for subs, follow for follows don't work. You're going to lose those subscribers really damn fast. Because no one, if they're not into movies, there's a reason they're not subscribed to you. So definitely just communicating with all your comment section, networking, right? And that kind of just ties into networking. And in general, learn the ins and outs. Do your research for tagging, SEOs, titles. I really wish I would have done that from straight off the bat. Same thing with thumbnails and not being lazy. And like, in a sense, every video you make should be better than your last one. That's the way I view it now. And so there have been times, I'm not joking, I've edited a review and I went to watch it and I hated it. And I literally went back and re-recorded it and re-edited it. And I liked it more. And then there are times where I've shot a video and something happened with the audio and I hated it and I never refilmed it. Unless I like actually had to, like it was I went to a press screening and I had to, if you go to a press screening, you have to watch something, I have to review it. So it's like, if that happened, it's like just frustrating. And usually I'll tell you this, like inside tip, if my videos are ever under 5 minutes, that means something pissed me off while I was filming and I had to refilm it. And it's kind of a half-assed one at that point because I had nothing else to say because I was just so mad watching it. In particular, Unhinged. My Unhinged review, I think, is at 7 minutes, but the first recording of that, something happened with my audio, and I was so mad because it was all in the middle. So, but the beginning and the ending were fine, and I put all my equipment away. I went to, because I edit at work. I edit my videos on my breaks. I was like, what the hell, seriously? So I had to go home, find the same exact shirt, and re-record that whole middle thing because, so it's frustrating. So definitely that. Third thing I'll really throw out is you don't need all the fancy dancy equipment. You don't need the fancy dancy editing software. You don't. I do it mostly all off my phone. These things are so powerful now. It's just learning the ins and outs of how to do what you need to do. There are things I'm missing out on from not doing Adobe and stuff, but Adobe's really confusing to me. I don't need it. Not right now. Maybe in the future when I can learn it. But, and always look for deals. Like this Yeti microphone, I love it. I love this Yeti microphone. It's like my best friend. I got it for $60. It's like a $150 microphone. And the best thing is, check Amazon, GameStop. Biggest thing is it came with a video game. So the whole package was $100. This was 60. The video game was 40. I took the video game and sold it and then kept the mic. $60. And I have 2 of these now because I've done the same thing twice. And I've dove in, and it's just like doing research on different things like lighting. I have tons of lights. I have tons of microphones. I have tons of different equipment for different occasions and different specialities. If I'm going somewhere, if I'm not, if I'm vlogging, it's just become a giant fiasco. And I love it. So definitely just, again, network, communicate, build, research, and have fun. Never stop. The second you stop having fun, that's when it becomes a chore. And this should never become a chore, in my opinion. It should never become a chore. When it becomes a chore, you need to change something up.
Some very wise words from, again, the busiest movie YouTuber out there. So we're going to hit you with some quick fire. We're not going to be as serious as we were. Going to hit you with a few quick fire questions. Perfect. Real quick. What is your favorite movie that you wish you could have experienced in theaters that you were unable to?
Ooh, can you say that one more time? I cut out for a second.
Your favorite movie that you wish you could have experienced in theaters that you were unable to?
Oh my God. The Dark Knight. Never got to see it in theaters. It's between The Dark Knight. So The Dark Knight's definitely up there. Interstellar. Since we're staying on that Nolan train. Man of Steel. I didn't see Man of Steel in theaters. Those would have been like all mine.
That all ones that I also agree with as well. What is your proudest moment to date on YouTube in your YouTube career?
That's a good question. Probably the first time I ever got an early screener. That's my proudest moment. It was for Last Flag Flying with Steve Carell, Bryan Cranston. I love the film. But going after that, I guess in February when I was looking at my email and I got a Black Panther invite, I nearly cried. I was like, I feel like I've made it. You know what I mean? Like seeing that I got Black Panther made me go, I'm going to get Infinity War this year. And that's what made me like, I wasn't like, oh my God. And then like knowing like, oh my God, I'm going to get Toy Story 4 early. Like I saw Toy Story 4 3 times before the damn movie came out. Like I made it an effort to find screeners for that one or network for that. But definitely those are like my proudest moments. Going to a video that I'm mostly proud of is probably my Toy Story reviewing series. I was so happy with the fan base that really went and watched every single one of those videos. Because usually when I do a retro review, it's not that many views, but like they literally watched every single one leading up, and it made me feel so special. And I'm actually doing that with Studio Ghibli right now. And so far, I didn't think the reaction was going to be more than 100 to 200 views, and they're doing really good, like 400, 500, which, again, not a lot to everyone, but like for me, that's means a lot that like 500 people, 200 people, whatever, would sit down and watch a Studio Ghibli review for a film that came out 30, 40 years ago. You know what I mean?
It's a big fan base. I mean, you never know what you're going to hit. And the last quick fire question we have, and I think I might know the answer, but I'll let you answer it though. What is your most anticipated film, not just for this year, for any year in the future, of any movie that we know is coming out in any time in the future? What is your most anticipated film?
So, if Batman wasn't coming out, It would have been Dune. It would have been Dune this year. I'm actually in the middle of reading the book, and that just seems like the next Lord of the Rings. But since the Batman's coming out, I'm going to say this right now. I could give one crap if I ever watch another Marvel film. I could give one crap if I ever watch another DC film. That film literally is everything I could ever want and more. Which is crazy because Spider-Man 3 would have been my most anticipated film of next year, because of that ending from Far From Home. But my thing with Marvel is it's always kind of the same thing. I know the tone I'm going to get. DC for me right now, I would rather see all their films in the next Marvel phase. And that sounds insanely crazy, but like Suicide Squad looks like a blast. Wonder Woman 1984, I never thought I'd be more excited for a Wonder Woman film than Black Widow, because I'm not the biggest fan of Wonder Woman. The first one, I think it's good, but not great. Zack Snyder's cut, oh, give me it. I'm all for it. Give me it. But the Batman, man, oh my God. Like, even before that trailer, you know, I remember when Matt Reeves got signed on, I was sad that Ben Affleck wasn't going to direct it because I love him as a director. But I said, okay, that's fine. Matt Reeves, he did the Planet of the Apes trilogy, freaking phenomenal, very underrated trilogy. Then I see the likes of, there's rumors that it's Nicholas Hoult. It's between Nicholas Hoult, Jack Rayner, and Robert Pattinson. I said, Robert Pattinson, all the way should get that role. If he does not get that role, I'll be so disappointed. He got the role, killed me. I see Paul Dano as the Riddler. Oh my God, if you've never seen Prisoners, he's so freaking good in that movie. Colin Farrell's the Penguin, unrecognizable in that trailer, but just, again, perfect casting. Zoe Kravitz, Catwoman, still iffy on her, but she looked great in the trailer, so I'm not, those iffiness kind of went away. But hearing Matt Reeves talk about that film just got my hype up even more. And then you see the trailer and it's even up more. It's like, it's my most anticipated film. Like, if I could really only see one film for the next 5 years. So you told me I could not watch Tenet when it comes out. I would choose the Batman. I would choose the Batman over Tenet.
And that is exactly the film I thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
And just piggybacking a little bit off of Matt Reeves, like you said, when you heard him talk about it, you could tell he gets it.
Yep.
Like the way he was enthusiastically talking about not just his film, but Batman in general. Yep. You're like, this guy gets it. And yeah, I mean, it has significantly jumped up in my anticipated list for next year. So that is it with the quick fire questions. One more question for you, Zach.
Yeah, of
I'm
course,
gonna hit you with a Sean Evans Hot Ones type thing. Where can everyone find you? What do you got coming up? What should people be looking out for? Just everything. Lay it all out there for everybody.
Man, so you guys can find me on Zachhpope Reviews on YouTube. Just type in Zachhpope. I should be the first person that comes up. Other than that, though, honestly, just tons of early movie reviews. Like, I'm continuously networking, trying to get screeners. Like, I have a screener of Mulan coming in, which the fact that Disney, I mean, they were really stingy with Artemis Fowl, which I kind of see why. That film was not great. But I was really happy to get that. Tenet, Nolan ranking, Bill and Ted. If there's a movie coming out, I'm going to want to talk about it. And I want to see you guys down below in the comment section. Other than that, though, I don't know what else is coming up, man. This year's unpredictable. I was honestly wanting to find a full-time job in this profession by the end of this year. That's probably not going to happen now because of everything going on. But definitely after December, guys, things are going big. That's when I graduate. Hopefully, if I pass all my classes, I definitely should. But that's kind of where, starting January, it's just going to keep going up from there. And I hope to have you guys there.
That is great, Zach. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with me today. It has been a thrill. Absolutely fantastic. Guys, thank you so much for checking out episode 2 of Favorite Movie and Why. We have plenty more episodes coming. I have reached out to multiple different people in this field, and we are hoping to sit down with them eventually. But again, thank you, Zach. Everyone else, have a great rest of your day, and we will see you in the next video.